This is Jonathan Perkins with another PFR report from the field. We're standing out here in a field of wheat just outside of Effingham, Illinois at our research farm at the new Effingham PFR site and distribution center. So here today we're looking at some wheat that we actually top dressed earlier today with our feekes 3 applications. We've been getting a lot of questions lately about what do I do with my wheat. That's a pretty common question this year. We had ample fall growth last year in the fall of 15. So whenever we came into the spring, we had ample tillering, and what we've been asking people is, what are your tiller counts? So tiller counts come into play whenever we talk about nitrogen recommendations on wheat. So we're going to go through a little bit of that. I do have a couple of tools right here that I always carry with me to the field. So we're looking at a square foot marker here that we can check our square feet and how many tillers per square feet, as well as a hand trowel to do a little bit of digging with. So now we're looking at how many tillers per square foot. We have here a square foot marker that we can lay down, and we randomly want to throw this out in the field to get an evaluation several different places in the field so that we can get an ideal number of what's going on out there in our wheat fields. So looking below, we have this row of wheat that we landed on, and what we want to do is dig up and count the amount of tillers that are in this square foot, because we want to have between 70 to 100 tillers for adequate yield levels that we're shooting for. So normally we always want to bring something to dig with too, such as a hand trowel, so that we can dig up these plants and evaluate the number of tillers per square foot. Now, some of the numbers that we want to look at as well in the case of wheat is looking at making sure that we have at least 25 plants per square foot. And normally with the 25 plants per square foot and 70 to 100 tillers, that can lead us to a harvestable goal of around 65 heads per square foot to give us good yield levels at the end of the game. So let's go ahead and dig up some tillers and see what our counts are here. So now that we've dug up the tillers per square foot, we ended up with a number of 157 tillers per square foot in this area, which is a high number. We did have a lot of fall tillering that we experienced. So normally with the feekes 3 apps at this time frame, we're trying to increase our tillering to help that tillering out and make sure that we end up with some of those final numbers we talked about before. In this case, we did end up with, in some cases, up to 8, 9, and even 10 tillers per plant in some cases. So we ended up with high tiller counts as a result. Now, if you're in that ballpark and you're well above 100, we normally recommend holding off until feekes 5 time frame later on when we get into the stem elongation, and not the feekes 3 time frame when we're in the green up stages and just breaking dormancy. The reason behind that is we have ample tiller counts, and we want that nitrogen to go more towards where the plant needs to put it to yield later on as the nitrogen uptake curve increases when we get into the feekes 5 time frame. So just a few things I noticed on this plant. 8 tillers, like I mentioned. We also have a very good root system developed here, so it got rooted down very well. In this case, with the 15-inch rows, we did get good seed placement down about 1.25 inches, and we got good root development in the fall that occurred as a result too. So just a few things that we noticed. Now, if you were in more the 70 to 100 ballpark, or you were just flirting right there around 70, probably want to consider a little bit more nitrogen at the feekes 3 time frame. In this case, we didn't want to take a chance of running out of nitrogen in our plots, and we normally split apply anyways. So what we did is we put 40 units of nitrogen out here. We knew that we had ample tillers, but like we said, not knowing conditions that might come about, we ran 40 units of nitrogen, and we're planning to follow back in with that balance later at feekes 5 of a total nitrogen program in this no-till system of 120 units in. Now, normally we've seen our best benefit in our data from down in southern Indiana and Kentucky, as well as southern Illinois, around 100 units of nitrogen. But in some cases with these wetter years, we've seen that number increase as well with the loss of nitrogen that we've had. So the end goal, we want to shoot for around 100 units of N if we're in a conventional till system, about 120 units in a no-till system, and try to split apply that as much as possible that we've seen economic benefit from. So with this wheat, like we said, 40 units now. We'll plan on 80 units later when we come back in at feekes 5. And we may do a follow-up video then just to show a little bit of what's going on. But you'll be able to see some of the video footage from what we did today with our applications that we made with some of our liquid apps and our dry apps out here in the field. So until then, this has been Jonathan Perkins, PFR agronomist and location lead here at the Effingham, Illinois site, and reporting from the field here today with another PFR report.